The Health Ministry said the UAE has recorded 781 new coronavirus cases overnight after conducting an additional 35,000 tests, bringing the country's total number of known infections to 29,485. The ministry added there was also one fatality overnight, rising the death toll to 245. But 561 people meanwhile were cleared from COVID-19 infections, raising the number of patients to recover to 50,056. The ministry again urged people to follow social distancing and other preventive measures to avoid coronavirus transmission. According to the Health Ministry, Turkey confirmed nearly 120,000 recoveries as the country began easing measures against the pandemic. Health Minister Fahrettin Koca said some 1,141 new cases were reported in the country, bringing the total to 156,827. He added recoveries from the disease hit 118,694 as 1,092 more patients were discharged from hospitals over the past day. According to ministry data, the death toll from the outbreak rose to 4,340 as the country reported 32 new fatalities in the last 24 hours. A French consortium announced on Monday the launch of the production phase for a saliva-based screening test to detect COVID-19. The consortium said the test would be performed by a healthcare professional and involves collecting less than 1 milliliter of saliva from a patient. The sample is then deposited in 2 tubes heated to 65 degrees Celsius, and the subsequent readings screens the tested patients for the presence of the virus. The consortium hoped its EasyCough product would enter the French market from mid-June onwards. Domestic flights will resume on Monday across India after a day of hard negotiations, the Federal Civil Aviation Minister said, after some states sought to limit the number of flights. Flights will restart under an easing of restrictions imposed over the coronavirus, though the number of new cases rose yesterday by a record 24-hour number. The 6,767 new cases took the total to over 131,000. Airlines are preparing to resume about a third of their domestic flight operations from Monday, without clarity over what quarantine rules may apply to passengers. State government officials said Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu and West Bengal, business hubs and home to India's busiest airports, had said they were not prepared to open for flights as coronavirus cases rose. The White House said President Donald Trump on Monday suspended travel from Brazil, which has emerged as a major new hotspot in the coronavirus pandemic. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany said non-Americans who have been in Brazil in the last 14-day period prior to when they seek admittance to the U.S. cannot come to America. Trade is not affected by the new rule. She said in a statement, the action will help ensure foreign nationals who have been in Brazil do not become a source of additional infections in the country. Pressure is mounting on the Prime Minister to act over his senior aide's lockdown trip as the cabinet is to meet later to discuss plans to ease restrictions. Acting Liberal Democrat leader Sir Ed Davey said it undermined the Prime Minister's authority and Labour has called for an inquiry. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has defended Dominic Cummings, who travelled to Durham. Speaking at a Downing Street briefing, the Prime Minister said he believed Cummings had no alternative but to make the journey from London at the end of March for children, when both he and his wife were about to be incapacitated by the coronavirus. Victims of Australia's catastrophic bushfires are still living in tents, garages and makeshift shelters months after the blazes ended, with efforts to rebuild their lives hampered by the coronavirus pandemic. Inside a small tin shed on Australia's southeast coast, a family of 6 takes refuge from the cold as the southern hemisphere winter begins to bite. The structure, chock full of toys and beds, has been home to 51-year-old Anita Lawrence and 5 of her children since February. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern was rattled live on television, not by a line of questioning, but by a major 5.8 magnitude earthquake on Monday morning. The earthquake was centered 30 kilometers northwest of Levine, a town around an hour's drive north of New Zealand's capital, bringing scares but no reports of major damage. It was felt most sharply around the south at Taranaki Bight, the closest major city, Wellington, some 100 kilometers south. In the Beehive, Premier Ardern was being interviewed live on television Channel 3 when it hit. Americans sunbathed on beaches, fished from boats and strolled on boardwalks this holiday weekend, while the occasional person wearing a mask was a constant reminder that the world is still battling COVID-19 pandemic. The Memorial Day weekend that signals the start of the US summer is normally a time when cemeteries across the nation fill with American flags and ceremonies to remember those who died in US wars. This year, the holiday week is when the US death toll from COVID-19 is expected to exceed 100,000. All 50 states have relaxed coronavirus restrictions to some degree. In some states like Illinois and New York, restaurants are still closed to in-person dining, and hair salons remain shuttered. In many southern states, most businesses are open, with restrictions on capacity. China's planned national security law may prompt Taiwan to revoke the special status it extends to Hong Kong. President Tsai Ing-wen says a move that could anger Beijing and make it harder for people from Hong Kong to visit and invest. China is proposing the new legislation for the Chinese-ruled city after months of anti-government protests, and the decision has already ignited renewed unrest in Hong Kong and prompted condemnation from Western capitals. The demonstrators have won widespread sympathy in democratic Taiwan, and the support for the protesters by Tsai and her administration has worsened already poor ties between Taipei and Beijing. Iranian media reports said on Monday the first of 5 Iranian tankers carrying fuel to Venezuela has moored at Venezuela's El Palito refinery. According to the government, Iran is providing Venezuela with 1.53 million barrels of gasoline and components in a move criticized by U.S. authorities, as both nations are under U.S. sanctions. The Iranian oil gem Handymax tanker Fortune, which loaded 43 million liters of gasoline during mid-March at Port Shahid Raji, Iran, has now moored the berth 2 at the refinery of El Palito, Venezuela, situated west of the capital city Caracas. A second vessel, the Forest, entered the Caribbean Sea on Saturday. The 3 remaining vessels were crossing the Atlantic. The Supreme Court on Monday, while hearing an urgent plea against Bombay High Court's order to keep middle seats vacant in international flights in compliance with social distancing norms, allowed Air India to operate non-scheduled foreign flights with middle seats booking for the next 10 days. The Apex Court, while hearing the petition filed by the central government and Air India, said that the state-run carrier shall be allowed to operate the non-scheduled flights with the centre sets booking for 10 days. The top court said that it will ask the Bombay High Court to decide on the matter again.